A lot of people feel like there are a lot of problems that they've got going on in their lives. Being in the work that I've been doing for a couple decades, nearly 30 years now, I've encountered a lot of people who've had different problems, or they thought that they had different problems. But the reality is that there's only one problem that any of us can have. Peace and love, family. I'm Royce Fletcher Thomason, and welcoming you back to another Sunday Hope and Healing session where we look to bring encouragement, hope, actual healing, healing for your soul, healing for your mind, healing for your body that actually manifests in real, tangible ways that make a profound difference in people's lives. And we do that through a methodology referred to as transcending the matrix, which is a holistic approach to healing that addresses a person's spirit, mind, body, the totality of one's existence, really, getting to the root cause of whatever those issues might be. So peace and love to everyone who's here today. We certainly welcome you to this place as we delve into this topic today of the only problem you can ever have and how to resolve it. The only problem you can ever have and how do you resolve it. Now, you may be possibly thinking, well, I've got a few different problems. You might be thinking about some financial problems that you might be having. You might be thinking about some problems that you might be having on your job or in business. You may be thinking about some health problems that might be going on in your life, or maybe some problems that you're having when when you're interacting with the people who are in your life, some relationship problems of different sorts. You might be feeling like you've got some problems that you're dealing with in terms of some things that you're trying to figure out in your life. And greetings to you too, Teresa Ann. You might feel like you've got a variety of different problems going on in your life. But the reality is that there's only one problem that you've ever had, only one problem that you ever could have, right? And that one problem might be manifesting in a myriad of different ways, okay? The good thing about any problem, though, is that there is a solution. There's no problem that is without a solution. There's a solution to every problem. In fact, the solution was present even before the problem arose. This is good news. This is good news. And so I'm here thankful to be able to share this this good news with you today. And so if you care to share an area of your life where you're experiencing or feeling some problem has arisen, or some problem arising, or you're dealing with some manifestation of a problem in your life, and then I encourage you to actually drop it in the comments if you feel comfortable doing so. And if you don't, that's cool too. If you feel comfortable doing so, we can do some things to specifically address your specific situation. In fact, when we started doing these Hope and Healing sessions, I think we started off calling it Hope and Healing Hour back in April of 2020. The focal point initially was people who were coming in dealing with specific health issues, some of those given the time. A lot of it was dedicated to people who were dealing with stuff relative to COVID, right? And so we were actually working a lot of the times, what our focus was people would be live and we'd focus on, or people who would be in the comments, and we'd focus on specific healing things that they had going on, right? And we'd address the healing on the spot. And over the years, we've continued to do that from time to time, where we've had people in the chat. And in fact, there was a person who was in intense back pain a couple weeks ago. And in a matter of, I think, 11 minutes, his pain went from a level of 8 on a scale of 0 to 10, with 0 being no pain and 10 the most excruciating he can imagine. He was at an 8, which is pretty high level of pain, to a 0. And I think that was in the span of like 11 minutes or so. And so we're happy to do that. And times when we're not necessarily doing that, we do more of a general healing. And so if there isn't anybody who's wanting something specific, we'll do more of a general healing. I definitely advocate for the specific if there's something specific going on, because it can pinpoint whatever that issue might be a little bit better. So what is the only problem that you could ever have? Teresa Ann says, keeping grounded. Teresa Ann, are you who I think you are? I believe that you're who I think you are. Anyway, and really, I can't take full credit for this. It was, your passion is feeling foggy. Okay. Yes. All right, great. It was when I was in Houston. It was when I was in Houston, there was a radio station, KSBJ, which was really a faith-based radio station. This station actually blessed me before I even arrived in the city. I saw a billboard when I was moving to Houston. I saw a billboard that said on the side of the highway somewhere north of Houston, wherever you are, God is always listening, or something to that effect. And, it just spoke to my spirit. Anyway, I remember another time I had it on this station. I don't really listen to commercial radio. I can't be dealing with the commercials. And I remember it was a conference or something that was coming up. And I remember this statement being made, and it really resonated. It really resonated so much with what Transcending the Matrix, the methodology that we use for the healing, deals with. And what this statement said is that you might think that you have a marriage problem, or a money problem, or a whatever, and it gave a couple different examples. But it said, really, you just have a God problem. And I thought that was really, really, really profound. So in this work of Transcending the Matrix, I've seen thousands of what people would consider medical miracles taking place. I've seen broken bones repaired. I've seen a lot of phenomenal things. People who've been in chronic pain for decades become free of that pain and it not come back. I've seen all kinds of, on a number of occasions, dealt with people who were making arrangements to get things in order because they felt like they were getting ready to leave the planet, and were even certain they were getting ready to leave the planet. And decades later, they're still here. And in spite of all of these things that I've been able to bear witness to and even participate in as a vessel of healing, the root of what all of the ultimate root of what all the problems are that show up in terms of the healing is an area wherein a soul manifesting in a body feels in a certain area cut off from the light of God's love. Cut off from the light of God's love. All right. And so a person may have traumas that they may have experienced in life. A person may have had painful experiences. A person could have things going on within your cellular structure, within your cellular memory, that you didn't even experience in your lifetime. There could be things that have been passed down from generation to generation. And just like your eye color and hair texture and different things of that nature. Greetings, Ketrin. Good to see you in the space today. and different things of that nature can be passed down through the DNA, through your genetic line. So too can unresolved pains, traumas, negative patterns, and things of that nature. Okay, and so on many number of occasions, I've been blessed to experience in my own life certain patterns being broken and be able to participate in that happening with other people as well. But ultimately, everything that is going on in our lives, we're processing on some level. When we have different painful experiences, when we have different traumas that take place in our lives, where we have been indoctrinated even in certain ways and certain belief systems that we've taken on in life, things that are not just our stuff, but things that exist within the collective consciousness of humanity, right? Stuff that isn't always necessarily your stuff specifically, but might be somebody else's stuff that you're kind of taking on for yourself. And in all of these different various situations, we have areas where we have some unpleasant experiences that we don't like, don't care to repeat again, and we endeavor to protect ourselves in some way. And a key coping strategy that we develop for protecting ourselves is taking these certain painful experiences, these undesirable experiences, and we tuck them away, we put them away in some place that we think will best protect us from experiencing that pain again in the future, and maybe even from reliving the pain that we experienced in the past. And so we essentially cut off a part of ourselves from ourselves in an effort to protect ourselves. But in reality, what we're doing is it's like a plant that needs water and light to grow. But we put it away somewhere where the things that cause it pain can't get to it, but the things that bring it life can't get to it either, right? And so from a kind of a practical standpoint, we're just doing the best that we know to live the best we know, right? We're doing the best that we know to be able to function the best we know how. We're doing the best that we know to cut ourselves off from pain and have the best chance that we think we might be able to have to go through life as unscathed as possible. Right? And so a reality is that in that, I think of have you heard of The Prophet by the poet, the Lebanese poet Khalil Gibran? And he has an entire book of poetry called The Prophet. And it's actually a story in a way, where there was this wise man who ended up being on this like little island place for a period of time, and he's getting ready to leave. This was a long time ago, so this is before the days of airplanes. And there was a ship that was coming to get him, and he was going to leave there, and he was going to make his way home. Terry's familiar with the prophet. And he was going to make his way home. And so all of the town or the village was coming to see him off. They loved him. He was certainly very beloved. He had shared a lot of wisdom, a lot of warmth, a lot of insight with the people where he was for this period of time. And as he was getting ready to make his return home, they all came to send him off. And as they were sending him off, they were wanting him to leave them with some last morsels, some final morsels of wisdom that they can take with them, or that he could leave behind as he began to make his voyage back home. And so one person asked, speak to us on work. Another person asked, speak to us on marriage. Another person asked, speak to us on children. And so each poem is the prophet speaking on this or that particular thing. And one of the thing that I became first familiar with, actually, my father sent this to me while I was a student in college, was the one on love. And it starts, El Mitra was the person, the name of the person who asked the question. speak to us on love. And he went speaking on love. And that was the true romantic that I am. That was as a young person in college living in the dorm. I remember reading that, and it wasn't like the romantic kind of stuff that I was expecting it to be. It was talking about like, so as love crowns you, so shall he crucify you. I mean, it was kind of rough. There was a part where it said, if you seek only love's peace and love's pleasure, that it is better that you cover your nakedness and enter into the seasonless world where you shall laugh, but not all your laughter, and where you shall weep, but not all your tears. And so this was a deep poem. There's a lot of depth to it. If you're not familiar with it, just do a Google search for of love from the prophet, or on love from the prophet. And I'm sure you'll be able to find it. Greetings, Melissa Kelly. Good to see you in the space with your love, with your heart shades on. I can dig it. I dig it. I dig it. I dig it. And so I've come to find this to be very much a reality of how a lot of us end up living our lives. We come into this world, a world that is replete with abundance of opportunities, of types of experiences that we can have. Some of those experiences are experiences that feel good to us. Some of those experiences are experiences that don't feel good at all. And sometimes we rather, out of fear of having the negative experiences, sometimes we cut ourselves off from the absolute bliss and joy and wonder of completely phenomenal experiences. I have a degree in finance, and one of the things that I learned is that there is a inverse relationship between, or there's a direct relationship between risk and reward. Sometimes to get the greatest reward, you have to take a little bit more of a risk, right? In terms of the return on investment. Now, it's important to take a calculated risk. It's important to do one's due diligence in taking that risk, but life itself is a risk. Joy is a risk. Love is a risk. And the reality is that in our thinking, many cases, the thinking of you as a young child that experienced some pain, some disappointment, some sense of abandonment, some, feeling unseen, or whatever the case might be, right? You, as a young person, develop certain coping mechanisms that you never completely outgrew. And even if you did outgrow them, didn't necessarily address those things that had been tucked away in that dungeon by that little version of you many, 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 many years ago. And so in this work of transcending the matrix, we look at what those root issues are. And then we bring the light of God's love into that space. The only problem that you or I or any of us can have is withholding from ourselves. Listen to how I said that. Withholding from ourselves the opportunity to experience the light of God. God is never withholding that from us. It's what we are withholding from ourselves. We withhold it from ourselves because of our own feelings of inadequacy and unworthiness and whatever stuff that we've got going on in our twisted thinking. That twisted thinking is a manifestation of the matrix of third dimensional beliefs of separation and limitation that is rooted in fear and false evidence that appears real. And even though it appears real, it's very, 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 very false. There's nothing that you can do that can make you unworthy of good. There's nothing that you can do that can make you unworthy of love. There's nothing that you can do that can make you unworthy, period. Okay. Now, that doesn't mean that you're necessarily in alignment with the good, that you're in alignment with the blessings. Where we are in alignment is indicative of what it is that we're experiencing, right? Okay, and so the good things are always seeking you out. The question is, to what degree are you in alignment with the good that's seeking you out? Okay. So again, if you have any particular area of something that's been, kind of getting to you, a problem in life that you've been dealing with. I know it was mentioned earlier about passion feeling foggy. The way that I'm interpreting that, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but the way that I'm interpreting that is not feeling fully connected with your passion. And if I'm misinterpreting that in any way, please feel free to clarify that. Okay. And perhaps someone else here can relate to that. And if not, if there's something else that speaks to you, an area in your life where you're experiencing a problem, please put that in, and we'll kind of include that in our focus in terms of this healing, right? But no matter what, you mentioned earlier, Terry, about not feeling connected with your passion, or it said my passion is foggy. If I'm understanding that correctly, you're saying not feeling necessarily connected with your passion. So if I misinterpreted that, please clarify that. Melissa says has the big issue with procrastination. Yeah. Okay, and so let me just say this in terms of the procrastination piece, and I can understand that. So there's somewhat of a relationship between procrastination and perfectionism. I don't know, Melissa, if you'd consider yourself a perfectionist or not per se, but there is a connection between those two. But both of them are really rooted to a degree in an insecurity. Okay, and so we'll see what we can do to bring a greater sense of security into your into your internal experience to help with that, overcoming that that procrastination. Okay, all righty. Anybody else? If you have anything, please feel free to drop it in the chat. All righty. Okay. Now I know it's a few seconds delay, but I'm not going to delay getting started much longer. So if you've got something, please type it in the chat. Keep in mind that a closed mouth does not get fed unless it's coming through an IV, and you don't want to be in a situation where you've got to get it through an IV. You're already in bad shape if that's where you are. You're already in bad shape if that's where you are. Okay. All right. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to start with a prayer. Okay. See, feeling invisible. Feeling invisible. Okay. All right. So let's get to that. God, I know you to be a healer, the source of all healing that there is, and that there is no problem bigger than you. I also recognize in the clarity of this moment that the only problem that any of us feel is absence from you, separation from you, feeling cut off in some way from you. And so, thank you so much for this beautiful opportunity to be able to demonstrate you as a healer and to bring a sense of reconnection, or to participate and help facilitate a sense of reconnection to the light of your love. For Terry, for Melissa, for everybody who's present and tapped into this, myself, and anybody and everybody who's tapped into this for the point of neutralizing the root cause of whatever problems that we think that we're having in life, whether it's feeling disconnected from our passion, whether it's feeling unseen, whether it's procrastination or anything else, neutralizing that from the root cause and the entire energetic structure of every strand of DNA and every cell of our respective bodies, and transmuting that into and replacing it with feeling the sense of divine fulfillment that comes with a sense of utter and complete, joyfully resplendent aliveness, where we feel thoroughly fulfilled, satisfied, complete, more than enough, jubilantly and ecstatically present to the good in our lives. And where that's so fully embodied within us that it actually even rubs off on the folks that we come in contact with, and they get a touch of that goodness and that joy and that sense of fulfillment as well. And I bear witness to our wholeness on this date and in this time and space called now. Thank you. Thank you for this gift of your divine love. It is done. It is done. It is done. All righty. Okay. All right. I see Melissa's comment connected with that perfectionism. All righty. All right. So since you mentioned that, let's get into the subconscious belief system. Let's get into the subconscious belief system that your choice will not be good enough. Okay. And let's get even deeper into the subconscious belief system that your choice will not be good enough in terms of the idea that when you came to Earth, that you somehow got this idea within your subconscious thinking that you're not good enough. So let's resolve that subconscious belief that you're not good enough. Transmute it into the awareness that it's not about how good you are or how good you aren't. It's about you being aligned with the blessing and being aligned with the blesser of the blessings. Okay. Now let's look into let's look into like early childhood situations of um, not not feeling good enough, or not feeling enough, or not feeling accepted, not feeling embraced, not feeling valued for your innate beingness. Okay, I feel like this is dealing specifically with Terry, but maybe some others as well. Not feeling valued for your innate beingness. So let's bring the light of God's love into that time and space where you first didn't feel valued for your innate beingness. Let's also go further back and deal with any psychological imprints. Going back 9 millennia. And through the ancestral lineage. All right, now with respect to that, let's deal with something that's coming up, is you being seen being dangerous. And feeling a need to hide. And that subconscious feeling the need to hide, this would manifest for you too in terms of that perfectionism as well, for Melissa. And not just you two who commented, but perhaps for everyone involved. Alrighty. Alrighty. Okay, so let's look at feeling safe when you are seen. The problem isn't really being seen. The problem isn't with being seen. The problem is with really being seen. Okay. My grandfather, my late grandfather, John A. Hall, my maternal grandfather, believed that people's biggest fear was the fear of being seen. And the context in which he said it was that he was relating it was in terms of being seen for one's shortcomings, being seen for one's inadequacies, the things that the areas wherein a person feels insecure being found out about, and other people seeing them in that light as well. And when the reality is, I believe that we all have a definite and significant need to be seen at our core, to be seen and valued at our core for our own unique identity. And so a lot of us expend a lot of energy trying to be seen in acceptable ways, in ways that we believe that people will accept us. Okay? That may manifest in a lot of the major life decisions that we make even. Right? All right, so let's look at the fear of vulnerability. That's coming up. It's interesting. All right, so let's deal with this fear of vulnerability, bringing the light of God's love into the spaces and places where there's been a fear of vulnerability. Okay, and that fear of vulnerability connected to traumas or traumatic experiences where you felt vulnerable and thus unsafe. I'm hearing the words of the late Howard Thurman, who said to feel in his autobiography with head and heart, with head and heart, or with heart and head. It's either with our heart and head or with head and heart. Said to feel an ultimate security and an ultimate vulnerability. This is to be loved. All right, so let's open up space within that framework of belief system of vulnerability being unsafe, or even love being unsafe, to be able to feel an ultimate and infinite security without having to put up external defenses. Okay. A Course in Miracles says that in my defenselessness, there my security lies. Oh my goodness. And so this becomes a matter of trust, or being distrusting. All right, so let's open up space. Let's open up space for grounded faith. For grounded faith in your safety and your security and your innate perfection as a soul. Not that everything that you're manifesting in your life is perfect. Not that you, in terms of your lived experiences, without flaw, or that your decisions or choices are without flaw, or not to say that you don't have character flaws. All of us have all of those things. But at our root and at our core, at our essence is God. And so at your essence, you're perfect. And so let's look at reattunement with and realignment with their perfection at our core. Okay? Reattunement with the perfection at our core, the source of our beingness. And with respect to that, I want to look at religious trauma. Okay. There are folks who have been traumatized religiously, myself included. All right. A lot of people that I deal with have experienced religious trauma, or trauma in connection with people who didn't properly understand and operated out of fear. You see, the thing about this matrix of third dimensional beliefs of separation and limitation, and this is not to knock religion, I'm a minister, so please understand that. But when a person is operating out of that 3D matrix, out of this matrix of false evidence appearing real, it's a filter through which everything we see in life it ends up being filtered through that, right? And so we're not seeing anything clearly, including God, our relationship with God, God's relationship to us, how we see the world, how we see other people, how we view our lives, how we view ourselves, right? And so most of the trauma that people experience, religious trauma that people experience, and maybe I could say all, is really rooted in the brokenness of the people, right? And so, there's a word in some religions use in a religious context. The word, you've heard of it before, no doubt, sin. And sin is simply a term that means missing the mark. Okay. And the way that I relate that in today's, because there's a lot of moral judgment that ends up being placed on that, and has been, so it's a charged word. But a way that I relate it to is brokenness. Greetings, Curly Conscious King. Good to see you in this space today. Happy Sunday to you as well. Is brokenness. And so broken people pass on their brokenness to other people, including people who are in positions of authority, people who are in positions of leadership. When a person is operating out of their brokenness, they tend to inflict other people with their brokenness. The thing about it is that even though we've had some unrighteous religious indoctrination from people who were operating out of their own brokenness and used through their understanding of how to relate to life from that broken perspective, even though in a position of religious authority, may have passed down some of their brokenness to you. And so it may have made you even distrustful of a simultaneously everywhere equally present, all powerful, all loving God. Okay. And so let's deal with that in terms of where there may be some reluctance to that, in terms of maybe this idea that you're somehow not good enough, or that you can never be good enough. The truth of the matter is that there isn't anything that you can do to make yourself good enough to be loved. There isn't anything that you can do to make yourself bad enough to not be loved. You are innately loved because you are. And if you don't believe that, have a real authentic conversation with somebody who's had a real authentic near-death experience. You know, I've known of many people who made a brief trip to the other side and didn't want to come back because of all the love they felt there and how different that is from the experience here, right? I sometimes have glimpses of memories of what life was like before I was in a human body, before I came to this earth, right? And so, and even with that, you know, just like going to the movies, you know, you're entering into a world that doesn't change your source. It doesn't change the reality, what's real, what's really true. You just, for a time being, engage in a temporary suspension of disbelief. Okay. Where you allow yourself to forget that you're just experiencing a temporary thing on a visit that gives you opportunities for a variety of experiences. And the key thing that it gives you the opportunity to experience is yourself as the light in whatever the situation may be. But the key thing that it gives you the opportunity to experience is one who sees through the truth through the illusion, right? Anyway, let's keep going with the healing. Let's keep going with the healing. All right, so let's deal with a desire to not be responsible. Desire to not be responsible. Okay. Not sure how I'm feeling about this shirt, by the way. I saw it on Amazon. It had like a cool bohemian feel to it. I threw it on getting ready for today. I'm just not really sure how I feel about it. I'm not sure if it really looks like a men's shirt or if it looks more like a women's blouse. And I'm, anywho, let us proceed. So let's look at within the collective consciousness of humanity, feeling an attachment to the illusion. And let's loosen the hold of the attachment to the illusion. That doesn't mean that you've got to like give up your life on earth, but we're going to loosen the thank you, sir, the attachment to the illusion. All right. The attachment to the illusion, to be able to live in the earth from a place of true, genuine, authentic freedom. From a place of true, genuine, authentic freedom, to be able to live in the world, yet not be imprisoned by it. To be able to live in the world without being imprisoned by the illusions of this world. And therefore, be able to live in alignment with the magic, if you will, with the juice, with the good stuff. All right? To be able to flow in the realm of the miraculous. Okay. All right. So let's look at, for a moment, let's take a look at the subconscious belief system that let's look at the subconscious belief system that the reward for living in the illusion is greater than the reward for living outside of the illusion. All right, let's reverse that. They say a lot of times that we'll stay where we are until the pain of staying where we are becomes greater than the pain of moving forward, right? So let's look at fear of anticipated fear of pain, like fear that we've projected into the future of a pain that we'll have to experience if we choose something more, ultimately more fulfilling. All right. All right. So let's look at openness. Openness to the feeling and experiences of true fulfillment. All right, with respect to that, now we've got to break down any sense of guilt about feeling free and fulfilled. Guilt that we might feel in terms of seeing and interacting with people who've not made that choice. So like we've gotten out of it, but there are other people who are still staying in it and suffering, and then maybe feel guilty because we've made it somewhere that they haven't yet. Almost like survivor's guilt in a way. Okay. All right, so let's look at breaking down the part of us that wants to project our stuff on other people, project our insecurities on other people, and anticipation of other people projecting their insecurities onto us. Because maybe we've got a fear that our becoming free makes other people, it stimulates the insecurities in other people. And so we don't want to truly let our light shine because of how we feel that will stimulate the insecurities of other people, and then they'll bring a lot of darkness into our path or into our life experience. All right, so replacing that with a greater reality that we get to be an inspiration, while at the same time remaining non-attached to the outcome. Our light shines inspiring other people, but if others aren't inspired by, we can be okay with that too, and in complete peace with that too. All right, how are you all feeling out there? I'd like to hear from you all in terms of the work that we've been doing so far. How are you feeling energetically? How are you feeling in your beingness at this time? Okay. All right, so I'm going to do a couple other corrections, and then we'll get ready to close this out for today. By the way, for those of you who are Transcending the Matrix initiates, I believe that we currently have on the calendar in GroupMe for a TTM support session on Thursday the 1st. That might be the case. I will actually be at a conference that starts the evening of Thursday the 1st. I'm going to check the calendar again. So we'll either move it back a week, or I'll just give somebody else my credentials to actually host the meeting, and I just won't actually physically be there because I'll be tied up with that conference. But just stay posted. Keep your eyes out on GroupMe, because I will put a message out there in GroupMe. And yes, Melissa will get another Saturday TTM session in as well. Terry says the app doesn't work. Terry, just reach out to me, and we'll see what we can do to get you situated with that. Thank you, Curly Conscious King, for holding the space and praying for success at the conference. The conference is the Celebrating Our Souls conference that's taking place at Unity Village in Lee's Summit, Missouri. And it's hosted by the People of African Descent New Thought Group. So that's what the conference actually is. And I'll be actually there as a panelist on Friday the 2nd for, I'll be a panelist on a health and wholeness panel. Okay, so I'm definitely looking forward to that. Michael Beckwith and a bunch of other people will be participating in this conference as well. I'm definitely looking forward to that. Shout out to Reverend Shirley Price Lawson, the TTM initiate, who got me involved with this in the first place. Okay, so let's make a couple more corrections, and then we'll close it out for today. So let's look at the part of ourselves that's withheld love from ourselves. And perhaps that wounded inner child that has left us to withhold love from ourselves because maybe somebody else wasn't able to love us in the way that we needed to be loved. Let's transmute that into and replace it with resolve to truly, thoroughly, and completely loving ourselves. Loving ourselves enough to be open to the good. Loving ourselves enough to put ourselves in alignment with the blessings. Loving ourselves enough to make investments in ourselves and in our ultimate well-being. You know, self-care isn't just, I know, you know, there's a lot of talk about self-care and stuff these days. A lot of times people talk about self-care in the context of things like getting a massage, or women may talk about it in terms of, you know, being pampered in some kind of way sometimes. But other things, there are other things that are part of self-care too, in terms of the things that we put into our mind. That's part of self-care. Part of self-care is how we invest in our spirit, right? How we choose to give focused time, energy, effort, and attention to the things that will actually help us to be better versions of ourselves. Not just on the surface, but deep down inside as well, right? Okay, those things are all part of self-care and self-love as well. All right. So let's deal with prioritizing S with the uppercase S, self-care. Prioritizing caring for your higher self, for your deepest self, for your purest self, right? All right. Caring for the most sacred parts of yourself. All right. Okay. And the diligent commitment to doing so. And to forgiving yourself for the times where you have not in the past, and any time you may not in the future, any slip up that you might have where that's concerned, right? Okay. All right. All right. So let's kind of clear these things from the various levels of the matrix, the different matrix grid lines, incidents, Akashic records, universes, dimensions, times, judgments, and unknowns. You transmute, purify, clear through the light of the Holy Spirit, now, henceforth, and evermore, forevermore, for all generations of time, past, present, and future, past, present, and future, the absolute, complete, permanent healing with infinite and immediate correct perception of wholeness. We forgive and forget unconditionally. And thank you, God, so much for the blessing of the healing that's taken place today. Thank you for the love that's been shared. Thank you for the love that's been received, the love that is now received, and for all manifestations thereof. It is done, it is done, it is done. Yay. Amen. All right, beloved. That pretty much wraps us up for today. Again, we've been dealing with the only problem you can ever have and how to resolve it. We've been working on resolving some of that today. If you would like more and you value what it is that we're sharing here, reach out to me at Royce Fletcher Thomason, either on Facebook or on Instagram. If you're not already following the Matrix Healing YouTube channel, please do so. It's one word, Matrix Healing. Please do so. You're very welcome, Melissa. You're very welcome. Oh, you weren't thanking me. My pleasure, nonetheless, Melissa. And Terry, you're quite welcome as well. You're all more than welcome. Certainly my pleasure. If you at all are interested in training, we will be having a Transcending the Matrix training coming up soon. I love this work. I'm very thankful to be able to do it, to be able to share with people. You know, I've seen a lot of things that have happened in the way of the miraculous over the years, a lot, like thousands across the globe. But to me, what's been just like the wonderful surprise gift is how my own life has been changed as a result. It blows my mind. It blows my mind. And for those of you who are interested in this path of initiation, of transcendence, of ascension, of liberation, of empowerment, of becoming free of the illusion, if you will. All of that is saying the same thing. Enlightenment, salvation. It's all the same thing. It's all saying the same thing. People don't really understand that in terms of popular culture and so forth, and what one's own indoctrination is and whatnot. But it's all speaking to really ultimately the same thing. And that's our goal. Anyway, it's time for us to check out for today. But I'm so glad for the opportunity to have been able to share this time with you. Thank you for being here with us on today. I pray bountiful, bright blessings upon you and your life and everybody who loves you and everybody whom you love. And as we endeavor to enter into the sustainable state of supreme satisfaction, until we meet again, I bid you adieu with peace and love. Catch you next time.